Cipher was introduced as the ultimate psychic and mindbender, so much so that he could practically overpower Supes, touted to be the most powerful Supes in the boys' universe. Case in point, Moreau, the latest resurrector from Godolkin University. But in the 6th episode, a battle-weary father becomes the first character to ever break free from Cipher's psychic grip. Polarity's unexpected resistance turned the tables on a villain who seemed untouchable, and we all know that's a game changer. But the question that arises is, how did Polarity resist Cipher's mind control? And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to explore in this video, where I talk about the 4 possible reasons behind the same. But before I begin, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos. And now, let's begin. Cipher's mind control abilities. Cipher arrived at Godolkin University as the new dean with a frightening power that no one really seemed to have an answer for. He could puppeteer other Supes' minds at will. Unlike ordinary telepaths, Cipher doesn't just read thoughts. He completely seizes control of a person's body and voice, and turns them into his unwitting puppets, kinda like an evil version of Professor X. We've seen how effortlessly he can slip into someone's mind. For example, he overpowered Marie and hijacked Jordan Lee's mind to force Jordan to fight him. In episode 6, Cipher again showed off his skills by making Polarity answer a phone call against his will and reveal his friend's location. Victims under Cipher's control appear conscious but helpless, almost as if they're passengers in their own bodies, while Cipher pulls the strings. No one had been able to resist or break free once Cipher locked onto them. Until episode 6, there was no obvious limit to his range or duration either. Whether face-to-face or over a call, Cipher dominates others with ease. And if you think about it, Cipher's near invincibility is what makes Polarity's feats so remarkable. A hero is only as good and strong as the villains he fights, and up till now, Cipher's psychic domination was absolute, and even seasoned Supes were powerless to stop him. Polarity's resistance. Episode 6, titled Cooking Lessons, builds up to a standoff at Polarity's own home. Cipher, desperate to find runaway student Moreau, holds Polarity hostage and tries to coerce his help. At first, Polarity is completely under Cipher's sway. The villain even uses Polarity like a puppet to speak with one of Marie's allies on the phone, tricking them into divulging her. Next, Cipher begins taunting Polarity, and even brings up the tragedy of Polarity's son Andre, who, if you remember, died from a similar power-related brain condition. This verbal attack hits a nerve within Polarity, one that's strong enough to give Polarity the power to fight back. Alas, the evil dean of Godolkin doesn't realize that. Cipher sneers that Polarity is headed for the same fate, and dangles the hope that Marie's blood-based powers could cure Polarity's condition if he complies. It was supposed to be simply a manipulative ploy aimed at breaking Polarity's spirit, and for a moment, it seemed to work. In fact, Cipher forces Polarity to slap himself repeatedly, physically humiliating him. But as Cipher continues ranting about his twisted plan, boasting that he'll cull 70 to 75% of Godolkin U's weaker Supes, and when he mocks Polarity using Andre's memory, something incredible happens. Polarity snaps out of the mind control. In an instant, his demeanor shifts from entranced to enraged. We see Polarity regain control of his faculties and immediately unleash his magnetic power in the form of the blast that looks similar to an EMP cannon blast that you usually see in movies and TV shows. With one forceful blast, Polarity hurls Cipher through a window, sending the villain flying out of the house. Now, the thing is, the sequence of events was so shocking that even Polarity has a hard time believing what he just did. When Polarity rushes to the broken window to look, Cipher's body is already gone, of course. He fled into the night. This moment is a turning point for Gen V's story. Polarity becomes the first person ever to overpower Cipher's psychic control. Not only did he break free, he also managed to knock Cipher on his heels, something we hadn't imagined possible. The immediate reason seems to be that Cipher pushed Polarity too far by invoking his son, and the emotional shock gave Polarity a surge of resolve, and possibly power, to fight back. Furthermore, Polarity is a veteran hero with strong abilities of his own, so we know for a fact that this senior Supe can control metal and magnetic fields. In that heated moment, his love and grief for Andre likely fueled his strength. Even Cipher, who usually maintains a cold, controlled demeanor, was taken aback. In fact, during the lead up to this, Cipher himself was showing cracks and had been angered by the student's escape, and was seen losing his cool so much that he started violently smacking the burned, vegetative old man he calls his father. This loss of concentration might have weakened Cipher's hold just enough for Polarity to break through. Whatever the exact cause, Polarity's successful resistance pretty much changed the entire dynamic of God U. It proves Cipher is not invincible and gives Marie's group a fighting chance. The episode ends with Polarity free and Cipher in hiding, leaving you and I with one huge unanswered question. How exactly did Polarity do that? Well, there are several theories that we've come up with. Was it purely Polarity's inner strength, or is there a deeper mechanism at play? So let's check them out one by one. Magnetic interference, the implant theory. One plausible reason behind our guy Polarity's sudden show of valor is that his magnetism powers interfered with Cipher's mind control at a technical level. Earlier in the season, Marie noted that she couldn't detect any compound V in Cipher's blood, suggesting he might not be a typical Supe. If Cipher isn't using innate V-given powers, how is he controlling minds? Well, it's possible that Cipher's abilities could stem from some kind of electronic implant or device, essentially a piece of technology, possibly metallic, that enables his psychic control. If true, Polarity would have the perfect counter. Polarity can manipulate metal and electromagnetic fields, so he may have instinctively fried or disrupted the device when he fought back. In other words, the moment Polarity's will surged, his powers could have generated a pulse that short-circuited Cipher's mind control tech, breaking the psychic link. You could, for a moment, liken it to an EMP blast, knocking out a signal, and if Cipher's control works via electrical brain impulses or a neural transmitter, Polarity's magnetic blast might have scrambled those signals. This theory fits the evidence because there's no compound V in Cipher's system, so his powers could possibly be tech-based, and Polarity is known to have control over metal and energy fields. It would explain how Polarity not only broke free, but also literally flung Cipher away, as if pushing back against the device's force. While the show hasn't confirmed any implant yet, the idea that Polarity's magnetism counteracted Cipher's power at, physics level is a compelling one. It means Polarity's role in stopping Cipher could be very direct, and that he might be the only Supe who can nullify whatever device or artificial method is behind Cipher's mind control. So, we can expect a bit more Professor X and Magneto battles in the times to come. Additionally, we know from the trailers that Polarity will visit the Danger Room version of God U. Up until now, it was Victor training and killing the kids. It's now going to be Polarity, in all probability. The next theory is that the metal-bending Supe was powered simply by his innate heightened willpower caused by an emotional trigger. Another explanation is more straightforward. Polarity resisted through sheer force of will amplified by emotion. Cipher made the mistake of taunting a grieving father about his dead son. The anguish and anger this caused in Polarity might have allowed him to do what no one else had, which is how he managed to consciously throw off Cipher's influence. In many stories, strong emotions can enable characters to overcome mind control, at least briefly. Polarity was already resisting Cipher's demands out of principle. He refused to help him even when threatened with his own failing health. So he had a mental barrier to begin with. Hearing Andre's name used callously and repeatedly was the breaking point. Something snapped inside Polarity, as the scene showed, and he went from passive to fighting back in a heartbeat. It's possible that Polarity's decades of experience as a hero and a father gave him an uncommonly strong psyche. Unlike Cipher's usual student victims, Polarity is older, highly trained, and stubborn. His mind might not be so easily dominated, especially when his protective instincts kick in. If you believe in this theory like me, then you know that we don't always require any fancy science. Sometimes we can depend on the moment, as one of human or Supe determination, overcoming an oppressive force, however briefly. Supporting this idea, Cipher himself was visibly less composed than usual at that moment, as he was enraged and perhaps not focusing as intensely on controlling Polarity. Additionally, Polarity suffers from a neurological condition, due to overuse of his powers, that causes seizures and instability in his brain. Ironically, this could mean his mind is a noisy environment to invade. One could speculate that Polarity's damaged neural pathways made it harder for Cipher to maintain a grip, kinda like trying to puppeteer a glitchy, sparking machine. When Polarity's emotions spiked, perhaps his brain activity and magnetic aura spiked too, and all of this momentarily overloaded the psychic control, essentially weakening the control. While this is somewhat conjectural, it combines the emotional angle with Polarity's unique physiology. In essence, Polarity had both the mental fortitude and an unpredictable brain, which together helped him shatter Cipher's hold when provoked. Limitations of Cipher's power, a crack in the armor. There's also a possibility that we've finally witnessed a natural limit or weakness in Cipher's powers. Up until now, Cipher appeared to control anyone effortlessly, but Polarity's escape effectively tells us that his ability isn't infallible. One possibility is that maintaining control over a powerful Supe is taxing, especially if that Supe fights back. As I was discussing earlier, Polarity is not a random student. Instead, he's a renowned hero with strong powers. Cipher might have to exert more effort to keep someone like that puppeted, and doing so while monologuing about his grand plan could have split his focus. In other words, Cipher seemed a little less sure of himself, and Polarity overcoming his control suggests Cipher is starting to lose his touch. This means that perhaps Cipher's power has a stability issue. It could be mental strain, technological malfunction, or even overconfidence that caused the hold to slip. Remember that right before Polarity fought back, Cipher was multitasking. He was controlling Polarity, delivering a villainous speech about culling weak Supes, and dealing with the stress of his henchmen failing to recapture the kids. Not only that, Victor ended up getting killed by a child. Though I'm not sure if Cipher knows that it was a child that killed the violent Viking-esque Supe. Either way, Cipher was also furious because he had just learned that his prisoners escaped, and he'd taken out some of that anger on the burned man in his care. All these factors could have weakened his normally ironclad control. In storytelling terms, this might be the moment where the omnipotent villain shows a crack in the armor. It tells the audience that Cipher can be beaten. Polarity may have simply been the right person at the right time to expose that crack. This theory doesn't rely on external devices or hidden powers. It may simply be that Cipher overextended himself, and Polarity's innate strength exceeded what Cipher's mind control could handle at that moment. If true, others, like Marie or Kate, might exploit this weakness by pressuring Cipher mentally, or forcing him into situations where he can't fully concentrate on controlling one target. The Godolkin Connection, Puppet Master Theory. The most far-reaching theory includes Thomas Godolkin himself, the founder of Godolkin University. Episode 6 all but confirmed that the withered, burn-scarred man living in Cipher's house, whom Cipher called his father, is actually Thomas Godolkin himself, still alive. This reveal immediately sparked theories that Godolkin is the real power behind Cipher's throne. It's possible that Cipher might not be a true telepath at all, but rather a meat puppet controlled or powered by Godolkin behind the scenes. In other words, Cipher could be channeling Godolkin's abilities or executing Godolkin's will through some psychic link or advanced technology. This theory arose partly to explain why Marie couldn't detect Compound V in Cipher's blood. You see, if Cipher himself isn't the source of the power, that would make sense. Notably, Stan Edgar mentions a rumor that Godolkin knows everything about controlling and eliminating Supes, and might have even developed a way to do it without physical contact. We learned Godolkin was the original mastermind of the Super Kid program, Project Odessa, and had a trove of research on subduing Supes. It's not a stretch to think he found a method of puppeting Supes, possibly the very method Cipher uses. If this Godolkin as puppet master theory is true, Polarity's resistance could be explained by a failure in that setup. For example, maybe Godolkin's own mental reach or whatever device connects him to Cipher has weakened or momentarily disrupted. There's a telling moment, the one where Cipher's rage at the escape leads him to physically assault the bedridden Godolkin, slapping the crispy fried old man in frustration. If Godolkin is indeed the source of Cipher's powers, getting smacked around by Cipher might have broken his concentration or damaged the link, however briefly. So I think that Polarity didn't so much overpower Cipher as take advantage of the controller's lapse. Essentially, Godolkin's hold over Cipher, and thus over Polarity, flickered, and Polarity's magnetic blast then did the rest. In practical terms, this overlaps with the implant idea, that maybe Godolkin's mind control tech or psychic network was interrupted by Polarity. Stan Edgar himself wonders if Godolkin is actually pulling Cipher's strings, if Polarity unknowingly severed those strings, by magnetically frying a chip or just by timing his attack when Godolkin's focus slipped. That could be why he succeeded. The Godolkin theory is pretty fascinating actually, because it ties into the larger plot and seems to imply that Cipher's power has an external dependency, and dependencies can break. Oh, and if you're of the opinion that Cipher beat Godolkin and that's why he doesn't control Cipher, well, we know just how twisted people in the boys' universe are, so maybe, just maybe, Godolkin likes to get a good beating. Marvelous verdict. Cipher is doomed. Polarity's defiance of Cipher in episode 6 is more than just a fist-pumping heroic moment, because it changes the dynamic of Gen V Season 2. Until now, Cipher appeared unstoppable, his mind control steamrolling over anyone in his path. Polarity's unique combination of experience, powers, and personal motivation made him the unexpected foil to that threat. Whether it was his magnetism shorting out a hidden device, or unwavering will as a father, or a flaw in Cipher's own power, or patron, finally coming to light, one thing is clear: Cipher is not invincible. Polarity's resistance is a beacon of hope for Marie and her friends, suggesting that this villain has a weakness that can be exploited. It also makes Polarity one of the most intriguing figures in the show right now, a once-retired hero who just might hold the key to defeating the season's big bad. As the season heads towards its finale, you and I are eagerly awaiting answers. How will Cipher respond now that his secret vulnerability has been exposed? Will Polarity's newfound ability to counter Cipher play a role in the final showdown? The show has yet to explicitly confirm the mechanism behind Polarity's mind control immunity, keeping us all theorizing. In the meantime, it's been exciting to dive into the possibilities and hidden clues. What do you think is the reason Polarity managed to pull off this incredible feat? If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
Do it. You got nothing left to lose.